Relationship stories. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be in the delivery room when my wife delivers? I know the title sounds bad, but it is not what it is. I, 30 mil, have been married to my wife, 29, for 3 years. She got pregnant in January this year and I was overjoyed. But one day she struck with the bombshell, that the child wasn't mine. I was shattered. By then she was 6 months into the pregnancy, and I did not have the heart to make her go through the legal process of divorce. It seemed that the baby's father ran for it when he heard my wife was pregnant. I did tell her that I would be filing for divorce once she gives birth to baby, and made it clear that our relationship wasn't salvageable. She agreed, and I told her she'd have to move out once the lease expires in January. She tells me that she is still in love with me, and that our relationship could be healed once again. I told her no and she left it at that. We have been sleeping in separate rooms ever since, and I help with her delivery-related treatment and visits to the hospital. Now again, a few days back she asks me to be with her in the delivery room once she delivers, as she wants me to be a support for her. I once again declined, and told her that she could ask her mother to be in the room to take care of her, and not to ask me to be with her in the delivery room. She went on to tell this to her parents, and they have been messaging and calling me trying to change my mind, and even went on to call me cruel. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be in the delivery room? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Please get a lawyer, in case you are in a jurisdiction that automatically assumes paternity of a child born within a marriage, so that you can ensure you are not fighting an uphill battle to not be legally responsible for a child that is not yours. Even if you don't change the living situation, make sure you are protected. Sure, thanks for your advice. This is so important. Do it now. Also, you should go to get a DNA test right away. They will absolutely do it in the hospital, and if she decides not to let you do a DNA test after, she could make you wait to get it court-ordered. Not the a-hole. Her parents and your wife are hoping that you bond with this baby, even though it's not yours, and thus, won't divorce her. It's a manipulation tactic. Came to suggest this. Poor form on their behalf. Why would he do anything to make this easier on her? Not the a-hole. If he's in the room, he will get caught up in it, and become attached. Not the a-hole. Since divorce is on the to-do list, I would say it's appropriate for you to stop going to these appointments as well. If you don't want to be involved with this child or rebuild your marriage, then you have to remove yourself from that situation. Otherwise you may be on the hook for additional support/child support for a child that isn't yours. They will argue that you showed an interest and provided emotional support. Did you get a DNA test done, or is the assumption the child isn't yours based on your wife cheating? If you have DNA proof the child isn't yours, you should be taking concrete steps to separate yourself from the situation. Since she'll have an additional mouth to feed, I would argue that you should offer to leave the apartment to her. That will give you the opportunity to try and recover and move on in a new space that holds no reminders of her, or her betrayal. Yes, I did after she confessed to me, and the child isn't mine. Here's OP's little update. After reading your comments, I've decided to consult a lawyer and file for divorce immediately. Also planning on talking to her parents about taking her in, and taking care of her stay at hospital. Now for the next story. My wife, 27 female, said she cheated on me, 31 male, because she was never attracted to Asian men. We are both Asian and have a 4-year-old son together. I am 31 and my wife is 27. We married when she was 22 and I was 26. Friday outside of work I was confronted by a man, 49, I kind of knew of, but didn't know. He asked if I knew who he was, and then started saying how powerful he was in his industry, and how he rarely loses, and sure as hell wasn't going to go without a fight. As I was getting my bearings, he drops the bombshell that he's been sleeping with my wife, and that he's not going to let her go, and she loves him too. I try to keep my composure as I drive home. For the first time in my marriage, I did a deep dive into her iCloud. In it, I found a bunch of infuriating and disgusting text messages, such as him comparing his D size to mine, and saying that he's surprised an Asian man could have taken her first time. Then other texts, about how she could not resist white men. There were texts from him jealous that she had hooked up twice, with this other guy. This other guy was also white, I knew that, because he's the face of a local boutique hotel his parents own, and the family's pretty well known. The earliest text message that showed infidelity was a Rouge conversation with someone she met at a party who asked if he should book a hotel room. He sent over selfies and he was this actor type. The worst part is her thanking him for really expensive gifts, and I realize she probably has a secret bank account somewhere. I go and pick up my son, and send him to his grandma's. My wife comes home and I confront her. She starts crying and saying that I'm the only man she's ever loved. That I was the father of her kid, and that she had built a home with me. And that she doesn't regret marrying me. It was the happiest day of her life. I said that these text messages are absolutely disgusting, and are tearing me apart. She first tried to say that he initiated most of those conversations, and the context of the messages was skewed. I asked what the heck does that even meant. She paused for a long moment, and said that he made her feel desired. That a lot of these guys love at all her features and would say they were so obsessed with her, that they literally love any woman that looks remotely like her. And that they continue to influence various promotions, and helped her network, and increase her earnings astronomically. Then she broke down, and admitted that she was never physically attracted to Asian men. And that she was never attracted to me, and throughout the marriage, she became even less attracted to me. And that the only people she felt physically excited about, have been white. And that was the main reason she cheated, and feels it hard to resist white men. But then she said, that we work better together as a team, and we have a son to raise. She said I would be ruining his life if I put him through an ugly divorce, and I would only see him part of the time. What do I do? She said she can't help what she is attracted to. We usually have intimacy at least once a week, and I'm satisfied with regular S and thought she was too. But it burns me that it was probably due to yes all along. Another problem is that, her affair partner, she confesses, says he wants to have a kid with her and be a family with her. That he'd give her a better life, and that he wasn't going to let her go. And that he was persisting, and always was with her on business trips. She confessed that she did feel some kind of passion with him that's addicting, and sometimes imagines the what-ifs. Help. Our families know each other and our friend circle is also very much established. I'm totally unprepared for the humiliation of the roller coaster of emotions ahead. Now for the top advice. Your wife is showing no remorse. She only wishes to guilt you into not divorcing her, but with her other statements it appears your marriage is over. The confrontation with her affair partner is bizarre. He appears to think he can threaten you. I would take that to the police. I think you should begin divorce proceedings. If you still want to reconcile, after all the betrayal and nasty things she has said, you can always stop it. But she needs a big bucket of cold water thrown on her. I would tell her to go to her affair partner immediately. Also get a forensics accountant to find the hidden accounts she will have. She is a sly one. Dude, you can't stay in a marriage where she loves you, but not in love with you. Tell her to pack her bags. He can have the cheater. What is your question? Do you want to always play second fiddle? She as much as told you that she isn't going to stop cheating. File for divorce so she can go be happy shagging her white guys. There's a lot of that fetish going around. Get a lawyer and DNA test that kid. Do not let her guilt you into staying with her. She doesn't love or respect you. You saw the messages they sent. You're a meal ticket to her. Her tears are not for you or your pain, but for the comfort she grew accustomed to. Throw the whole cheater out. You will find better. For the last story. My wife wants to renegotiate the terms of our marriage. Without going into too much detail with our past, my wife and I are at a bit of a crossroads with our marriage. Long story short, there has been a history of insecurity and trust issues on my part due to various instances of her emotional cheating, sending inappropriate photos and messages to guys, both known to her and not, and generally a lack of mutual respect of boundaries. My wife openly admits to mental health issues, and in the past has seen this behavior as she has something wrong with her, goes to counseling. I'm given what seems partial access to her phone. Things get better with time. As this has happened about 3 to 4 times in a 5-year marriage, there is an obvious cycle and pattern. While we, and only we, set the rules and boundaries for our marriage, we both went into this marriage with clear expectations around acceptable behavior, or so I thought. Her previous husband encouraged this side of her, and I made it pretty clear I wasn't up for it. I'm a pretty black and white kinda guy with old-fashioned values. She's a bit more spontaneous and gray with her thoughts and feelings. She recently asked if we could try a threesome. I said I'm not interested. We had a great run for about 18 months, but what's different this time is rather than her trying to fix something, her psychologist has asked if she'd embrace these thoughts and has asked if I would consider renegotiating what is acceptable. I've told her many times that there's nothing wrong with having fleeting desires. but she needed to be really clear on what is a need and a want. We sat down last night and talked over many things. She said she's thought about what her gray area looks like, and wanted to reassure me she does not want to open the marriage, does not want to sleep with other people, nothing physical with anyone. She does however want to feel less judged, but also know I'd be okay if she flirted with people to keep building her confidence. There were other things, but she feels she would only focus on telling me the things she won't do, as opposed to what she would. I wouldn't be privy to what those are. She then proceeds to tell me that she had 3 guys in the space of 2 months recently willing to sleep with her. Her reassurance here was that if she wanted out of the marriage she would have considered it, however on the flip side tells me she would never go through with it. She values everything about me as a person, values our marriage and children etc. Which lead her to this renegotiation. Considering my own personal history of being cheated on by my first wife, all of this has really pushed me to the brink. I'm struggling to see any benefit out of this that takes my needs also into consideration. All I see here is her trying to get me to accept this is who she is, and that her needs are more important than mine. I told her I'm not willing to stay married if it's purely out of comfort. I'm quite aware of the term cake eater, and I'm struggling to see how any of my needs are being put on the table. We're quite aware that no one can give anyone else complete fullness in their lives, but the difference is, I'm the type of person who just accepts it for what it is, whereas she has a need to fulfill any gaps. Would really appreciate any insight or ways I could calm my thoughts or ways forward. Couples counseling is one, however she's told me she needs to continue focusing on herself. There's likely more I could say, but we'll add more as needed. Now for the top advice. I would let that baby bird fly. Even if she manages to not cheat, emotionally or physically, for a year, there's likely to be another issue, and then another, and another. She is preparing you for her inevitable affair, by forcing you to accept her erasing the reasonable boundaries around your relationship. This is the first time I have recommended a preemptive divorce. But she deserves it. She is pulling out all the stops, including claiming her therapist is on board with this relationship-ending pact, to convince you to agree to explode your marriage. The best way to say no to an insane request from a mentally unwell spouse, who insists on nuking the relationship, is handing them divorce papers. You cannot reason a person out of a position they did not use reason to get into. She told me she's being treated for schema therapy. I know little about it, but had hoped her reasons for doing so was to correct bad behavior. Her entire tone has shifted since her therapist suggested it. Her view is now one of, what makes something right or wrong? I get it to a degree, but not in the context of bettering yourself to be a better wife. Some quotes. I'm tired of being a socially acceptable wife. Your needs are important as mine, but I'm not held accountable for them. A light switch has gone off in her head. She left her last husband for the same reason. He wanted her to pursue emotional connections with other men, and then he cheated on her. This is painful to read. Sorry that you are at this point. What your wife is asking is essentially a do-over. Life doesn't work that way. She wants to renegotiate your marriage to make it more convenient to rationalize her unacceptable behavior. Don't do it. Either you have boundaries, or you don't. If you do it this time, there will be a next time, and a next time. If her psychologist suggested this, then she needs a new psychologist. If you cannot live with her behavior, then the right thing is to end the marriage. I hope that it works out for you. Your wife has massive self-esteem issues. Seeking validation from outside parties is very common, but doesn't cure what is inherently missing internally for her. My perspective is she needs a new therapist to help her get to her lack of self-confidence. This is going to be very bad in the end for you mentally. What happens if the flirting she gets back from men no longer fulfills that need for validation, and she needs more validation? Does she renegotiate again, or does she do something she says she currently does not want to do, or worse? This sounds like a very slippery slope. This is the best answer. Self-esteem is an internal mechanism. Sure, it can be topped up from external sources, but the fixes are fleeting and require a constant top-up. Flirting is never harmless. It destroys her evaluation/commitment to OP. What happens if OP and SO are out on a date and her phone goes off? Does she wait till later? Or nip to the restroom to get her fix? What if she gets a guy that she is really into? OP is against an open relationship. What is being proposed is an emotional, open relationship. Hard no. Get another therapist. Edit. My big worry is that when the subject of open relationships or threesomes come up, it's usually because the wayward spouse has already got someone in mind, or is legitimizing retroactively already physically cheating, and wants to continue guilt-free. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.